Hello and welcome to The Reasons I'm Broke. I'm Kelli.
And I'm Daniel.
And for those of you listening to us for the first time, this is a podcast where we talk about comics, video games, movies, the things that make us broke throughout the week.
And this is episode number 55.
We are now senior citizens.
And still broke.
And waiting for that AARP card so I can get discount coffee at McDonald's.
Hope that works for comics when we actually turn 55.
That would be awesome.
Would be good.
Like, here's this shitty comic nobody wants to read because you're old.
Oh, we've got a shitty comic that we're going to talk about earlier. That's a part of Villains Month.
Very true.
But first with news, video games is where we're going to start. Scribblenauts Unmasked. This is the DC Comics version of Scribblenauts. We've played a couple of the Scribblenauts games before on the DS and the 3DS. We never really bought one. We bought the first one, and then we haven't picked them up since. But once we saw the DC Comics edition, obviously we like DC Comics way more than any other.
Way more than we should.
Yeah, definitely. Batman's in it? Yeah, I'm going to get it. I just saw Batman and immediately ordered it. We bought it. Hadn't even played it. Just straight up bought it. And we've been playing it. We played through the story mode, and I've actually created a couple of heroes already. Your first impressions?
I thought it was so much fun. It's Scribblenauts already, I thought, was a brilliant game because, you know, you type in anything and you create it. So it's a puzzle game, but kind of an action game too, because you get this knife and you gotta stab this guy to death. But you have to use your mind a lot too, because if you... Okay, so I remember in the first one, say on this last level, I used a pterodactyl. Mm-hmm. If I use it on the next level, I lose points. I don't gain any points. So it's constantly challenging you to be more creative. This one even more so, because you have such a greater array of things that you can actually use.
And even if you use the same villains or the same characters, it also knocks you down to half the points that you would get, like you mentioned earlier. And a lot of times, you will get stumped by the video game. This didn't work? Okay, now I have to try a different weapon. For Batman, for instance, the one weapon that I used to actually have him defeat the Joker, I gave him boxing gloves. And he used the boxing gloves to beat the shit out of the Joker.
Should have given him a crowbar.
That would have been really funny.
Would have been amazing.
Throw in Jason Todd with a crowbar.
Yeah.
Recreate the Red Hood movie. I thought this was rated E. What's going on here? What characters did we create? You want to tell them?
Oh, well, one thing I do like, let's talk about this, is a second player mode. Mm-hmm. So I'm over here. You've got, of course, the big gamepad with the screen and everything. And I'm over here with my nunchuck, flying around, and my Wii remote, playing as Sinestro, like shooting lasers at people, pulling out my Sinestro yellow ring sword, and like slashing people. Love it. So we've done Sinestro. I've played as Harley Quinn, the original, not the new 52.
They included both costumes in there.
They did. Who else did I play as?
You also played as Man-Bat. And Mogo.
Yeah, Mogo was the shit. Because Dan's like, okay, we're going in this tiny little building. Who do you want to be? I'm like, I want to be Mogo. I was like, shoot you with my earth beam.
And there were times when you actually couldn't fit in buildings when you were Mogo.
So you had to shrink me down. That's another thing that we got to see in this that I haven't seen in the previous game that we did play, is adjectives. Mm-hmm. So you go in and you make the fastest, the strongest, smallest, massive, whatever. And that's what your character becomes. And it's really cool. Really smart game.
Yeah, and one of the things, like we gave, I think I gave you superpowers, or me superpowers, you put in Kryptonian, and you actually get Superman's power, so you can fly around, but you're also weak to kryptonite. So when I pulled out the kryptonite to try to beat Luthor, it actually ended up hurting both of us as well. So while we were flying around, we ended up summoning Superman Beyond.
Yes.
And we gave him a lead suit, so he wouldn't be affected by the kryptonite. It was so much fun. It was great. Now, my only problem with the Hero Creator is it's not as user-friendly as it should be. When you're attaching the arms and the legs on that little pad, they only let you zoom in so much. So even when you're recoloring the character, you can't really get into like the hands or like the real specifics on the costume. Like if they have like armband designs or anything like that, it's very tricky to actually get in there with the touchpad and color up the pieces. It might be easier on the 3DS, I'm not sure, but I was having a lot of trouble. And if they just zoomed in a little bit more on your created hero, would have been so much easier. But I did create a Yellow Lantern Batman, which again did come with some problems, because when you attach the legs and you add like a belt, for instance, and he's running around, the belt is attached to the leg technically, so he's running around and the belt comes off as he runs because it's attached to the left leg, and it's terrible. And I just wish it was a little bit easier. I don't know if they can patch something like that. I haven't seen the Wii U do something that will actually let developers fix these games or fix these things. But I hope in the next one they make the create a character feature a lot easier, a lot smoother to use. In the meantime, I guess we're just summoning characters from the DC universe, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. But if you are trying to create your own character like I did with Sinestro Batman, it's not very easy.
If that's your only complaint, though, not that much of a complaint.
Yeah, pretty much, exactly. So it is fun. It's a lot of... I mean, it is $60.
Worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it was 50 for all the kids and everything, because as far as I can tell, the 3DS version and the Wii U version are the exact same thing. You just get it on the pad, and you get those extra features, and you get the multiplayer aspect of it on the Wii U. But overall, I mean, I think it could have been a $50 title. As much as we like DC Comics, any regular kid or any regular fan of the Scribblenauts games, I think $50 for them would have been fair. And I also beat the DuckTales game.
You did, finally.
Yeah, I got to the last level, the moon. It was fun. That was a really good buy. I think I got it for the $12 because of the PlayStation Network discount. Got through all the levels, hard as hell, especially at the end. I had to actually use the analog stick to do some of the jumping motions because the directional pad just wasn't cutting it. I never thought I would say that for a retro game where the analog stick was actually helping me. And if I was, the 8-year-old me that curses at my own self, if I was visiting like my future self, he probably would have done it. But I'm like, nah, I need the joystick for this jumping part because I cannot jump and move up. And
he would have been like, time, you baby.
Yeah.
Who needs what's an analog stick? Boom.
It's starting to hurt my fingers, man. Oh, come on. Look at these calluses. He rubs it against my face. I'm like, stop.
Your 8-year-old self is a badass.
He is a badass.
They also announced a season pass for Batman Arkham Origins. This will be available for $19.99 and will give you 5 DLC packs, which, if bought separately, will run you an extra $10.
Very worth it. You got to save the $10 if you're going to get any of those costumes or the extra levels that we're going to talk about. You have to get the season pass and save yourself the $10. Plus, it comes with bonuses.
First, we have a new Millennium Skins pack and the Infinite Earth Skins pack. The suits included are the Earth 2 Batman, Batman 666 costume, which is actually Damian Wayne Batman. Excited for that one. Red Sun, Flashpoint, and more.
And for pre-ordering, they actually throw in 2 extra costumes, Gotham by Gaslight and the Brightest Day Batman skin. That's the White Lantern Batman. So you get 2 extra things just for getting the season pass. Again, if you get it separately, you're going to miss out on the extra skins.
They also have an initiation bundle where you play as Bruce Wayne in new challenge maps. So this is you're seeing Bruce Wayne becoming Batman and trying to impress his master.
Yeah, it is like one of the final steps to Bruce Wayne in his transformation as Batman. And it is actually a part of the story mode, but there's challenge maps that come with it. And there's also an unannounced all-new story content that you'll be getting with this season pass. They haven't announced that it could spoil the story, similar to the Harley Quinn and how she was grieving with, spoiler alert on Arkham City, you should have played it by now though, shame on you if you haven't, with the Joker's death. And how she's dealing with the Joker's death at the end of Arkham City, and that's kind of what that DLC was. So this is very similar, except now you get 2 of them, and the challenge maps, and more skins than you can imagine. 2 of the skins are actually Robin skins. 3 if you count the Batman 666 costume, because that is Damian Wayne under there. They look awesome. I'm really excited, and I really hope that you can transfer your old DLC skins from Arkham City that you have downloaded already onto the new Arkham Origins video game.
You just want to play as animated series Batman.
Who doesn't? Everyone should play as Batman the animated series Batman, or Robin, or Nightwing. They were all in there. Catwoman. Yeah, that was cool.
And now we have official news that Pokemon Origins will be coming to North America. The first episode will be released on November 15th, airing on Pokemon TV, which is online. It will be a 4-part animated series based on Pokemon Red and Blue video games.
So we'll be streaming straight online. It won't come to... What channel is it on? Is it Cartoon Network?
Cartoon Network.
Cartoon Network. So they're not going to air on there, but they'll be available online for people that don't have cable, and everyone can watch them. They already aired. They're about to air in Japan, so you can watch it early, but, I mean, you could always wait. Do you think that they'll have any of the original voice actors from the animated series that we're used to right now?
Nope.
You think it should be a new Ash, because this is a more badass Ash that actually evolves as Pokemon and goes to the Elite Four?
Ash? Who's Ash? There was no Ash in the video game. This is motherfucking Red.
Not even in Pokemon Yellow? Because that followed the show pretty well. Team Rocket, Pikachu.
That was a great game. Oh, man. Now I gotta go play it. It's in my car right now.
Yeah. Does it still have the internal battery that probably ran out?
No, those didn't have it.
So it was just silver and gold.
And crystal.
Because of the time. That's
yes.
right. Yeah, you're right.
So I actually still have silver and crystal. Both their batteries are dead. But I still have them.
So we're happy. Pokemon Origins is finally coming to the U.S. It's not going to... I doubted it. I was like, it's not coming. There's no way.
You did.
And I was proven wrong.
I think I should be a voice on there.
Who would you play?
Lance.
Lance, not Misty?
Nope. Hello, Red. Welcome to the Elite Four. Be great. Gay Lance.
Well, you do like Dragonite, so
I do.
That does fit.
This is my Dragonite. Who's gonna punch you?
I still want it to be, what's her name? Iris's Dragonite? Has to be that Dragonite. It can't be Lance's Dragonite. It has to be the one that does not use actual attacks like Hyper Beam.
No. Iris's Dragonite should be Lance's Dragonite.
What do you mean?
Lance died, and his Dragonite roamed free until he met Iris, and that's why he's all mad.
That would be a good connection.
Mind blown.
You should write these episodes and these shows.
I should. They wouldn't ever air them because I'd have them like cussing all over the place.
But you'll hear more thoughts on that as soon as it airs, and I'm sure we'll enjoy it. Even though I didn't see it, I still haven't seen any Bulbasaurs in any of the trailers. It's just Charmander and Squirtle.
When I'm Lance, I'll put it in a Bulbasaur.
Yeah.
Here comes my Bulbasaur. Kelli, Lance doesn't have a Bulbasaur. Shh, he does now.
And he's a dragon type.
Well,
this morning we saw the Beware the Batman. This is episode 10, titled Sacrifice. And I feel like we haven't talked about Beware the Batman in a little while. And I feel like now that the show is starting to hit its stride, that we should discuss it. I think it's really hitting important points, and it's connecting these episodes and the story into what you're involving character development. You're learning more about Katana and her trust with Batman and Alfred and his relationship with Batman. And now you have this villain who is the overall villain for this arc, but then you have the teaser at the very end of the episode, and okay, this is going to be the main villain. People that have been waiting for like a more recognizable character to come out for Batman to fight. People are like, where's the Joker? Where's the Two-Face? No, you got my favorite villain of all time. If you've listened to the podcast in the past, you know who that is. And he comes out at the end of episode 10, Sacrifice. And they say his name right.
I would just like to point out that I called this in the beginning of the episode, and you were either asleep or you just ignored me. But I called it. So who knows everything about Batman? Me.
If you watch the show and you've been following the comic books and you have been reading for a long time, you're obviously going to know who the League of Assassins are. Or even if you watched Batman Begins, you know about the League of Shadows and everything. So we all kind of saw this coming. But I'm just really excited to actually see this character at the very end of it. It's so awesome. I like the character design, and I can't wait to see how he actually fights Batman and who the voice actor is and how he sounds and his take on Ra's al Ghul and how these writers are going to handle Ra's al Ghul, a character that hasn't appeared since Batman the Animated Series, actually done like really well other than Batman Begins.
Also on some Batman TV news, they have announced a new live-action TV show called Gotham. It has been picked up by Fox and will tell the origin of Jim Gordon as he goes up against some of Gotham's worst villains. The show won't feature Batman, unfortunately, as it will be set before the Dark Knight ruled the city. No word yet on who will play Gordon.
It's going to be a much younger guy then. Mm-hmm. If there's no... It's going to be like Arrow, I'm assuming. It's going to be kind of like Arrow, and I believe The Flash is going to have a spin-off series too. I don't think they're going to be connecting these shows together with Gotham, but Fox has won that bidding for the show to air the show.
Awesome.
And Fox actually went ahead and put aside some money for production even before the pilot aired. I think there's good buzz about this show. Mostly reminds me of Gotham Central. Mm-hmm. We enjoyed the trades, we liked the stories, and that's what I feel this should be more like.
I agree. I think there is a lot that you can do with it, and in the right hands, I think it's going to be a really, really great show. I would love to see Gordon long before he's commissioner. I would love to see that drama of his fallout with his family, because that is a big part of Gordon's life, is he puts Gotham before his family, which is cool because he's Gordon, and at the same time I'm like, no, Gordon, your life. So yeah, there's a whole lot. You can have, mystery because people are dying all over the place. You can have the drama with his family. Just so much potential in this show.
Barbara Gordon, Jim Gordon Jr. What kind of villains do you think he'll go up against? I want to see Zaz. I don't want to see anyone as big as like Joker. I don't feel like someone like Gordon, who's an awesome cop. I don't know how he would do against someone like the Joker or Two-Face. Maybe Penguin they can swing. Maybe.
They could have Penguin how he is in the comics at this moment, where he is a rich guy doing some crime behind the scenes. I think we're going to see a lot of like Falcone and a lot of the mob bosses.
Definitely Falcone.
What was his name? Killer Whale or Fat Man Whale or something Whale?
White Shark?
No, there was a whale guy. Batman just talked about it in the episode we watched today.
Oh, yeah, I forgot his name. It's another one of the lesser-known villains.
Right. I think we're going to see a lot of guys like those. And then maybe some big ones throw in Zaz. You could throw Raish in there.
Possibly. Maybe if you just throw like the assassins.
Yeah, just Raish as a bigwig, like he kind of was in Batman Begins.
Mm-hmm.
You could have him as a businessman coming and finding out secrets and doing secret things. I don't know.
Maybe Harvey Bullock.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely,
Definitely, Bullock would be amazing.
Montoya.
Mm-hmm.
Another a character that originated in the animated series. So it's always nice to see a character like Harley Quinn or Renee Montoya make it to the comics and make it to TV shows.
Even Dr. Arkham.
Oh, yeah, Jeremiah Arkham.
Mm-hmm.
That would be really awesome.
He would be really cool. There's a lot of twists. Man, why aren't we writing this series?
I really hope it's good.
I do too.
I think they can really nail the show, especially as like some kind of a cop drama, but throw in a little bit of the fantasy with a couple of the villains that he'll go up against. And Jim Gordon, as we saw in Batman Year One, I'm sorry, but that's more of a Gordon story to me. That's how I read it, and that's how I saw the animated feature as well. This is the story about Gordon, the struggles he went through, and we enjoyed it. We loved it. We actually liked it more than the Batman parts in Year One. So you do a whole bunch of that, a whole TV show dedicated to Gordon, and I think it's very easy to do well.
I'm already sold.
Yeah. And on to comic books. Itty Bitty Hellboy #2. Written by Art Baltazar and Franco, and art is by Art Baltazar.
I am still not sold on this series. I don't know if it's because I'm not a Hellboy fan, or I don't know. I just don't really like this series.
We did drop it after this, actually. #2 is the final issue. Let me check the price point here. The price point on this, it's $2.99, so it's about the price of a regular kid's comic or a Simpsons issue. But if you see something like The Simpsons, you get a ton of story for your dollar. And these are short stories similar to Superman Family Adventures, which I believe was also $2.99. But with Superman Family Adventures, it was larger stories, and they were actually funnier, and the characters they could do more with. Here, it's partly because we're not big on Hellboy, but I'm hearing that even Hellboy fans are like, it's just all right. And some of the jokes are too light for its own good. You know, they're not taking advantage of the characters as they should be. And I feel like the little funnies or the little laughs that they put in there are not really getting me.
Not enough to carry the book anyway, that we would keep going back and purchasing it. So I agree, dropping this week.
I think there's 6 issues to this one, and we can see why. We won't be getting any more. I mean, if you've been enjoying it, great, but it is something that we are dropping, and not my pass of the week at all.
Next up, we have the first issue of Powerpuff Girls. This one is written and drawn by Troy Little.
This is an ongoing series from IDW. Comes in many covers, subscriber editions, one focusing on each of the Powerpuff Girls for each issue, which all connect. We ended up getting the subscriber edition. It has the 3 characters fighting Mojo Jojo. And this first story arc that kicks off with is a story for Mojo Jojo. And I feel like it is an episode, but they could put more drama behind it. Some of the episodes, they were just like little silly, whatever was going on with the comic. Now that the series is gone, but it's coming back as well, they can expand on some of the villains and some of the things they would want to do with the characters. And I think this one with Mojo Jojo, they added more of his inner thoughts. Like, yeah, he's talking to himself a lot in the show, but here it's he's turning over a new leaf and he wants to try something new, and now he's getting the Powerpuff Girls involved on a very personal level. It's a funny issue, good writing, the art matches exactly like the cartoon. What'd you think of it?
I really liked it. I feel like they understood that their original viewers were kids, and now we're all adults. So you have some of that humor in there, like, for example, I don't know if you put it up on Twitter, the panel where Mojo Jojo's like, I can't work retail. Have you ever worked retail? Kids wouldn't get that, but we're watching it like, yeah, fuck retail. Like, who wants to work retail? Good for you, Mojo.
I'm obviously superior because I work in retail.
So I thought it was really, really good. Great start. I think they're going to go really far with it.
Yeah, we're staying on. We're going to stick on it for the long run. Next is The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror number 19. This is written by Ian Boothby, Doug Moench, and Len Wein. The art is by Daniel Barrington, Tony Rodriguez, and Mike Cazalet.
Not as good as last year.
Number 18 was much better, and that's the issue that got us to subscribe to the Treehouse of Horrors. This one was a big letdown.
Absolutely. It focused a lot on the aliens, kind of weird stories. I wasn't really... I guess last year we had Rosemary's Baby.
That was my favorite.
And that was great. It was drama and suspense all in there, drawn beautifully, told wonderfully. And this was a really big letdown for me.
I don't think any of the three that were included, because it is a 3-part issue. There are 3 stories, 3 different art styles, one of which is the normal Simpsons cartoon style that we get in the regular issues that we don't get anymore. Now we get the specials. But it just feels like for the $4.99 mark, it wasn't worth it. And normally Simpsons books are, like I was talking earlier with Itty Bitty Hellboy compared to that. I think we're going to stay with the Treehouse of Horror, wait off for number 20, 21, simply because last year's was so funny and it was worth it. And I wanted to see them do more of that, where they change the art style and they try to spoof like more horror movies or whatever. And that's when it's really strong. And that's like kind of like the show, like they used to do. But this is more of a sci-fi thing and doesn't really work as well. And the aliens are in it a little too long. That story I felt took up too much of the comic book. So I didn't really enjoy it as much as last year's.
Next on our list, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, number 26. This one's written by Tom Waltz and Kevin Eastman, with art by Mateus Santoloco. This is continuing with the City Fall arc, where Leo has been captured and brainwashed by the Foot, and you have a lot of Raphael's inner struggle. Not only did he get his best friend stabbed through the gut and almost dead, but he also lost his brother, and he feels that it's his fault. And for me, this arc is great because we're getting to see a lot from each of the turtles and how they're handling this loss. Not only the turtles, but Splinter, too, is handling that in a very tough way.
I think my favorite part of this comic book was that development between Leonardo and Shredder. You really see this relationship between the two characters. Like, yeah, Shredder hates the turtles and he hates Splinter, but he is also kind of really adopting Leonardo. He is seeing the potential in Leonardo, and he's actually accepting him as more of a son than Karai is his daughter. And that's why Karai is getting jealous, and it's like sibling rivalry type of thing, but with Shredder involved in giant turtles, and that's really amazing, and that's fun.
You're such a boy. Giant turtles. They got skateboards. They eat pizza.
They play video games and watch comics, too. It's fine. It's just like me.
You're a giant turtle?
Yeah, yeah. If I was, I'd be Donatello. That's for sure.
I would be Michelangelo.
That's why he's your favorite.
Yep.
But the series continues strong. City Fall is great. There's 2 more issues left, I believe, 2 or 3. And I really want to see how Leonardo, because you see he is holding back from murdering and killing. So there's a part of Leo in there. I'm curious if he's actually undercover or if just his subconscious is actually starting to break through and go through that spell or whatever, that magic that the Foot used on him. And I think at a critical moment, he's going to come through for the Turtles and for his dad and go up against Shredder and betray him finally.
I'm curious to see the aftermath of all of this. I think it took a big toll on everybody, and they're going to have to deal with the consequences of everything that they did through this experience.
Yeah, TMNT, always awesome. Have we hit a pick of the week yet?
No.
Next is Saga number 14, written by Brian K. Vaughan, art by Fiona Staples.
This series continues to go up and up and up. I don't think there has been a bad issue.
Not yet, no.
We continue to see wonderful character development, not only as you're watching the characters, but through the commentary of the little girl who's now telling us the story years after this has already happened.
So if you actually pay attention to what she is saying, you are able to figure out where certain characters end up and which ones live and which ones die. I can't wait for, I'm not going to spoil it, but when a certain major character does end up dying and fans overreact, and it's like, no, they talked about it in issue number 1 and issue number 2. It's right there. You had to expect this. But so, yeah, it's a great series. I did like the relationship they're creating with the Will. I thought that was like the lightest part of the book, and that's weird to say because the Will just saved this like little slave sex girl from this planet. And now it's the funny part of the book, whereas now it flip-flopped. Now the other side is the more dramatic, where we're talking about following the character that's telling the story, telling this saga. So I thought it was, it's got to be your pick of the week.
I don't know, Dan.
You're not going to tell us the pick of the week right away?
I'm not going to tell you the pick of the week, because when I say it, then you go, oh, I knew it, I called it. And then if I say it's not that, you're going to be like, what? What's wrong with you? So just keep your pants on.
It's not my pick of the week. But it was a really good, it was a second. It was a really close second.
Yeah, it was way up there. Starting off with Marvel, we have Ultimate Spider-Man number 27. This one's written by Brian Michael Bendis with art by David Marquez.
Even closer to the end of the Ultimate Universe.
Good, because they really dropped the ball on this one.
Didn't like this one very much, me neither.
Not.
I agree.
We have, like I said in the last podcast, and probably the podcast before that, because this comic comes out every week.
You're thinking of Superior Spider-Man.
Oh.
This one's a monthly book.
Yeah, well, anyway, I feel like with these two series, they've lost sight of their character development. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because before, in the first arc of this, we had some amazing character development. Even in the beginning of this, him coming back after his mom's death, there was so much that you could have done with that. And I feel like they're just kind of ignoring all of that. It's not about the characters anymore. It's about taking this bad guy down. And I don't want to see that. I want to see these characters that I'm picking up this book to read about doing extraordinary things.
Yeah, the whole point of this issue, like you mentioned, is taking down this corporation that is making these superheroes and ruining these lives. Similar to the way in which Miles' life was ruined with his mom dying and Venom coming out, and they could have been behind it in some way, which it sounds like they were. And now these heroes that have been hurt by this company in the past have teamed up, and they're trying to go after this company. And that's kind of where we're going with this, but I feel like there isn't enough substance, like you mentioned, as there was before. We're like, oh, this is why I stopped being Spider-Man, and now I'm returning because of this action, and now you have Cloak, Dagger, they're all just a team now.
He returned to Spider-Man because he was bullied into it.
By Spider-Girl.
Right. That's the only reason he became Spider-Man again, and that, sir, is a shitty reason to be something.
You be the judge, though. Here is a code for the online version of it. The first person to enter it in at marvel.com/redeem gets the digital comic. TMA3K2KYFQIK.
So, plug it in, read it, let us know what you think. If you agree, if you disagree, send us a Twitter, #ReasonsI'mBroke.
Yep, the Twitter handle is @ReasonsI'mBroke. Next is Adventures of Superman number 5. This one's written by Nathan Edmondson and Kyle Killen. The art is by Yildiray Cinar and Pia Guerra.
Adventures of Maternal Superman.
That's exactly what this was, and I enjoyed it. Even on the cover, he has a little baby, right, that came from outer space. And
cradled to his chest.
Cradled to his chest, getting ready to breastfeed, I'm sure. No, he's just pretending he's the mom. And he's protecting the baby from this giant blast. But there's just this look of, like, motherly love on his face. If you just check out that cover. And that's because he is imagining raising this baby with Batman. Because as everyone knows, Superman is super gay for Batman.
This, I thought, was a pretty good story. It's going to lead up to some other things. We have a spacecraft that crash lands on Earth. They made Earthlings out to seem, like, really stupid. Mm-hmm. Because they see this thing crash and they pull up in their vehicles and they're like, okay, so if we see any signs of life, we're just going to shoot it.
Right.
Just kill it. Don't ask questions. And a little baby's crying and they're like, shoot it. And Superman's like, no. Can't you hear it? It's the sound of love. And he goes and saves his baby, and there's this guy there dying, Abensur or somebody, I don't know.
Might as well have been.
Might as well. And he's like, you have to save her. She's a princess, and these guys are coming after her. And throughout the rest of the story, we're seeing him fight these people who are coming after her, and he sends the baby to a church. I thought he was going to take it to his mom. That would have been cool. That would have been smart.
But it would have been too similar to Supergirl.
Yeah, better than this nun lady. But he's trying to protect this girl and find out why they're after her.
Which is what we're going to get, I guess, in the next issue.
I hope so.
I did enjoy... This is the first time that Adventures of Superman does, like, a story that's going to reach out into the next issue. Mm-hmm. Instead of the whole story being contained in the one. And I think Legends of the Dark Knight did it already once as well.
Yes.
And it's fun when they do that if you're actually enjoying the story. Because then you're like, oh, I can't wait to see next issues. Whereas if you didn't like it, then you're like, oh, man, half of this issue that I'm going to buy next month is going to be from the story that I wasn't really liking. I really like the backup, too.
Oh, I love the backup. Loved it.
That was awesome.
I think I liked it more than this first one. Mm-hmm. As we're reading it, it opens up with this kid in Smallville, and he's driving with his friends, and he parks his car on a train track, and his friend's like, "The fuck are you doing, Mike?" His name's Mike, because they said it like 14 times.
Yeah.
And he goes, we're finally going to get to see Superman today, and then I can tell him how awesome he is and all this stuff. And then we get, we cut over to Lex Luthor and what he's doing and all these different disasters that are going on. And we're bouncing back and forth throughout the whole world trying to see Superman stop all this stuff. And it was the ending that I had hoped for. And it was beautiful.
Very dark and very real. Mm-hmm. Because we do see that Superman is not fast enough to stop or to save the world, and he is very busy. But when he's working at the Data Planet, is he allowing people to die, or what's going on? It doesn't leave you with a positive message, just like, look, here's where he fails, and Lex Luthor has won. And it's just a part of Superman that is real, or in the comic book world, superheroes aren't real, but it's something that he has to deal with, but they don't touch on enough in the comics or in the movies or in the show even. This is a part of Superman that he can hear everything going on, and he does put up with it, and somehow he gets through it instead of letting it get to him. But I mean, this puts it right there for you. It introduces you to these characters, and then Lex Luthor executes this disastrous plan that's just like, look, Superman, this is how I win and how you always lose.
We do get to see maybe the reveal of a new villain at the end too.
Maybe. Yeah, that was interesting.
Did you pick up on that?
Yeah, I did.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that could also be Luthor saying that this is how I'm adding to your troubles.
Right.
Which is how I took it. And so if they don't make him a villain, that's fine, because it stood well on its own as a little story. Next is Batman number 23.4, Bane. It's written by Peter J. Tomasi, who of course writes the Batman and Robin series that we enjoy. Art is by Graham Nolan.
Oh, villain month. I am so conflicted with you.
Yep, I agree. Especially Peter J. Tomasi, but he's done so well with Batman and Robin. You let him, whatever. He can make 5 bad issues if he continues writing Batman and Robin as good as he has. Bane was not. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, agreed.
Not the worst one. This is just him getting ready to take his part of Arkham during the whole Forever Evil War.
His part of Gotham.
Yeah, what'd I say?
Arkham.
And Arkham, I'm sure. Because it's part of the Arkham War. And then the Talons aren't even mentioned in this. He's just like, I fought them as well, but that you got to read Talon for that. And
yeah. Is that what he said?
It's a little box, I'm sure he said that.
It wasn't very good. It wasn't showing Bane to the best of his abilities. This was the man who took down Batman, who broke Batman's back, and you treat him not that well. And
then he does more breaking of backs, like, yeah, we get it, and
right.
It says like, we will break this. It's like, yeah, we know. That's not all you have to say, Bane. You can say something other than you're breaking this and you're breaking that, and look, I'm breaking these guys too. Do something more. Do something different. Expand on
Pick
what
some
you
flowers.
do.
I liked. Was it the animated series comic books when he actually was helping all those kids?
Yeah, that was the animated series one.
That was a great comic. That was showing that Bane's not this thug who just wants to take over stuff. And okay, I think he did use the kids to like help rob a bank or something, but he was still doing what's best for them. We get to see in this one he's taking over this country and taking down the bad people in it, but he still doesn't care about the people.
Exactly.
And I didn't like that. I would have liked to have seen him when that little girl came up, who was really freaky, by the way.
Yeah, she was.
She was a weird little girl.
I'm gonna watch my dad die. I was like, Bane, run away.
She's the devil.
Run away, Bane.
La Diabla.
Something you'll understand, Bane. You cannot break her back. Just go.
She will break you. But I would have liked to have seen him actually care about those people and be like, look, I am your savior, and now I'm going to go conquer Gotham for you too. Not, I'm going to conquer it because I fucking hate people.
Because I'm Bane. Yeah.
Exactly. Because I will break Gotham's back like I broke Batman.
Gotta remind everyone all the time. You like this next one a lot.
I did. Batman and Robin number 23.4, Killer Croc. This one's written by Tim Seeley with art by Francis Portela. This comic is what I wanted Clayface to be.
It was almost like you expected Killer Croc to be the thug story, and it wasn't. Instead, this was the Killer Croc that slowly they unravel this history of the New 52 Killer Croc and how he didn't have like a terrible childhood like these other villains have, which I really appreciated out of this issue from this week's Villains Month. But instead, it's more of how he developed growing up, or how he grew into this like circus freak, into this timid man, until finally he just snaps like a crocodile would if he was trying to be trained in a fucking circus.
And it's like they actually say in the comic, he is a product of what people made him to be. He didn't want to be this way. He was a really nice kid. It's people treating him the way they did that forced him to become this animal. essentially.
Treating him how they saw him, exactly. Like a circus animal, a zoo, and just something for entertainment, something dumb, and like we expected it to be the thug character or the dumb character. No, he turns around and he says, this is actually, I'm remembering how I was treated. I'm not actually a monster inside. Yes, I eat people, so I'm technically a cannibal, but I do remember the good things that people did, and if they got hurt by it, I'm going to take revenge, and that's when you're going to see the monster come out. And that's exactly how they executed this, and it was perfect.
Mm-hmm. It was wonderful. I will say, I wish he had bitten Robin's head off, because Robin was kind of a dick in this issue.
What part?
When Killer Croc is first starting out, we see that flashback where he's robbing a bank, and Batman and Robin come to stop him, and Robin's like, yeah, maybe you should stop trying to be the brains. Maybe you should just stick to being the muscle. The only people who win anything in here are the people who kind of have a little posse, and that's not you, because you're dumb, and Batman and I are going to stop you anyway. Like, shut up, Robin.
You're obviously on the winning team.
Stop being a little asshole. He's that little kid in the soccer team and like at school, little kids, the one who sits on the bench the whole time and hands out water, and then when his team wins he's like, yeah, we're better than you. I'm like, just shut up, little kid. You didn't do shit. Your team carried you and you handed out water.
Right. So yeah, we really enjoyed it. Killer Croc, one of the good villain issues this week. Very, very strong contrast to this next one, which is actually one of the worst books we have read since the New 52 started. I'm going to go ahead and say that. It is my pass of the week.
Mine as well, yeah.
Batman the Dark Knight, number 23.4, Joker's Daughter. It's written by Ann Nocenti, art by George Genti.
I mean, this comic is great, guys. That's when who wants to buy it? We will sell it to you. That is how much we like you guys.
It's a gift.
Yeah.
Just don't read the words. Just admire the art.
Low price of $50. Can be yours today.
And this is the author that finally convinced you a long time ago, to drop Catwoman.
Who called that one too?
You did?
I did. Yeah, very not a good origin. Oh, okay, so contrast to Killer Croc. Here we go. I keep talking about Gotham Underground. Where this lady lives is not Gotham Underground. Where Killer Croc lives, totally believable Gotham Underground. So if you want to see a good contrast to how that idea could have been used, read these two books. Because the world they put her in, I'm like, what is this? Here, let me swim underwater through the canals with my weird little paper bag over my head. And
this was abandoned by Gotham a long time ago, except for the people that didn't want to leave, and they're down here too, and they're also trash people, and I think I'm the most beautiful or the most ugly thing ever, and then she's just insane, and her parents loved her, but she's still crazy and cuts her fucking face up. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. It has nothing to do with the Joker at all. I didn't see any connection there.
She finds his face.
She finds his face, and that's it.
And his face strikes fear into the people because they're all escapees from the asylum.
And she's not really Joker's daughter?
No, she's... And I did call this one. I said she's not really going to be his daughter. She's going to be a daughter by extension of him. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, you did. You did call that. But it just wasn't... It wasn't written well. The art was fine. I like the art okay. It's just so bad.
None of it was believable. 0%.
The thing with the moon and burning people's faces with it.
It wasn't a smile.
I know it was a smile, but it was just...
And her reasoning for becoming the Joker, she's like, puts on his like wrinkly face. She's like, now I'm beautiful. Yeah. And that's why you're the Joker. It was not a good comic. I mean, it was great, guys. You know what? $100. You can buy it right now.
Pass of the week, pass of the year, possibly.
Pass of life.
At the end of the year, we're going to be talking... I mean, you can hear how much pain I'm in. It's at the end of the year, we're going to be talking about our favorite comic book issue of 2013. Guarantee you, there's no way there can be a worse issue than Joker's Daughter. It's awful. Just don't...
Why did they hire Ann Nocenti? Oops, I'm going to get like Twitter flames now.
Don't worry, it's not Gail Simone. She's good, but...
Gail Simone is great.
I don't think Ann Nocenti has as big a following.
This character in the hands of Gail Simone would have been
better.
Great.
Yeah.
No, not maybe. Not maybe, Dan. This is Gail Simone.
You know who would have done better than Gail Simone? Paul Dini. because he wrote a superior ventriloquist.
He did. That was a very good ventriloquist. Okay, we're going to rewrite Joker's daughter.
All right.
And we're going to post it on Twitter.
We'll find some deviant artist and
yes. Yep, we're going to do it. It's going to be great. If any of you are artists, hit us up on Twitter.
At Reasons I'm Broke.
This is happening. And then that will be Book of the Year.
All right.
Okay, then.
And we'll just pretend we'll actually take like the drawings and paste them on the actual comic for Joker's daughter, and you can pretend that's the actual issue. Ignore the Catwomans that are actually touching up on Joker's daughter. Ignore those.
Those don't exist. What are you talking about?
Book?
There's a Catwoman comic?
What book did we talk about just now?
I don't know.
I forgot too. I don't remember.
I think we should write a Joker's daughter and a Catwoman comic.
Joker's daughter, that's a good idea. They don't have that yet, do they?
Mm-mm.
Or
nope.
Catwoman.
Yeah, neither of them.
Awesome.
Okay.
Next.
Next, we have Detective Comics number 23.4, Man-Bat. This one's written by Frank Thierry with art by Scott Eaton and Jamie Mendoza. I really liked this one as well. I thought that was a good use of his character and the effects of the Man-Bat serum, where he understands Batman's gone, somebody's got to save Gotham, so he is trying to be that person, and because of the serum, he's going about it the wrong way. I think when Batman stops being Owlman and comes back to save the world, that's going to be a huge impact. That's going to be a great story where Batman confronts him and ultimately breaks him as a person because he realizes what he's doing.
Yeah, Man-Bat is one of those characters that we've seen in Detective Comics that we kind of root for, because he is going up against a false relationship, and you really sympathize with his character. And now it's reached this point where he's getting desperate enough, and there is no Batman, so he's trying to fill that void in Gotham, but he is going that extra step like the Red Hood would do. Instead of just stopping the villains, he's actually killing them. But Man-Bat is actually being savage about it. Of course, being the Man-Bat, he's ripping them to shreds, and you see these limbs all over the place in the streets of Gotham. And then the victims, he's just like, "You're safe now," and flies off. Like, it's so cool. I like it. And then at the very end of the issue, you do see that it is going to be a problem for, like you mentioned, Batman when he does return. I didn't expect them to do this much with Man-Bat, and I've been really impressed with it so far.
Me as well. I thought they were going to do with him like they did with Clayface, where he's just all muscle and no brain. And I like that they've taken the fact that he's a scientist, and he is a really smart guy, and used that within his character, not only when he's human, but when he is the Man-Bat. I think it's a great take on him, great reinvention.
Between Frank Thierry also did the Penguin issue. Between the Penguin issue and the Man-Bat issue, which one did you like more?
They were both really good for different reasons. I think he captured both characters really well. Both characters kind of rising from the ashes, from the low point that they were tossed into. He did a great job with both of them. Mm-hmm. I think I liked Man-Bat a little bit more because it was something that I hadn't expected.
Yeah, they're both. I agree. I think Man-Bat, because we have had that story in the past with Detective Comics, and now you have seen the churn for the character, and it was executed well by Frank.
Mm-hmm. Next we have Green Lantern, number 23.4, Sinestro, Dan's boyfriend. This one's written by Matt Kent with art by Dale Inglesham.
I miss Jeff Johns, but I guess they did the best they could with what they had. With what kind of origin can you really give Sinestro?
They didn't need to give him an origin, though.
Exactly.
That's the thing. There was no reason for him to have an origin in this. Show him he's reminiscing about all the shit that he just did, and he's floating off in space, and what's he doing now? Why do we gotta go back and see his weird wife, who I loved the story between them, and now I'm just like, why'd you marry her, Sinestro? She's kind of a bitch.
Right. Like, and they took this angle of her like not loving him anymore, being against what he does because of the iron fist that he rules with on his planet by ruling with fear. Whereas in the older Green Lantern issues and in the trade paperbacks, you don't see that. All you see is this pain that he goes through because he misses his wife, because, she is, I think if you left it like that, and I think Sinestro is better as a mysterious character, as someone that you know a little bit less about. If you're going to try to give him an origin like they did here, I felt like it undervalued him a bit. I wasn't as impressed by how he got to this journey, and they do tell it here, but if you remember in the old Green Lanterns when Jeff Johns brought Hal Jordan back, And now Sinestro is Abin Sur's partner and his best friend. And it's like, holy shit, this is a villain. What's he doing there? What's he doing with this? And then the whole Green Lantern thing ended up being a story about Sinestro. And here you get like a very, very cheap history to Sinestro in a very early portion of his career.
I agree. I would have loved to have seen them do something different. I'm still hung up on his whole wife thing. Like, it really bothers me because I feel for him to have loved someone that much. When he became this cold dictator, she would have still loved him, but you would have seen her hurt by what he's doing. It wouldn't have been, how could, like, as outspoken as she was, I think she would have, I don't know, I would have liked to see her hold it inside. And Sinestro is upset by the fact that she is upset by what he's doing, but she's not voicing that opinion. That way, when she actually got shot, he would be upset. Not, oh good, that screaming banshee is out of my ear. Which is what she was. They did not do her character justice. They didn't really do Sinestro's character any justice.
This should have been a connection to the upcoming Sinestro series. They didn't give us that. But, hey. I mean, it's not Jeff Johns.
I think we should write Sinestro for the Villains Month. It's not over yet, right?
I wouldn't say it was that bad. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was a bad issue. It was just okay. I mean, I miss Sinestro, and this is the first time we've seen him since issue 21, the final one. And so it was kind of nice seeing that again and seeing someone admire Sinestro and kind of retell the history in a very biased way. Like, she didn't understand, except you were agreeing. You're like, yeah, she didn't understand Sinestro's brilliant plans and his ways. So
now, I didn't say she had to understand it. I'm saying that they did not make her a very likable character. Now, it could have been because the girl telling this story loved Sinestro and hated this lady anyway. So maybe she made her out to seem like she was worse than she was. But I don't think that Sinestro would have loved somebody who was like that.
Yeah, that's true. Especially the way he reacted, again, in that one issue in the New 52, where he sees the picture of them and destroys it. And now, with this issue, you think, oh, because he hated her, whereas before, you're like, he misses her, and he really is hurt. And I feel like that's a much more powerful version of Sinestro. But again, everything after Jeff Johns left, it doesn't necessarily count, but it does because it's not his character. But he sort of made it his character because it made him so amazing. So I mean, I guess if you like Sinestro, sure, why not? But it doesn't add much to his history. On to my pick of the week, actually, Justice League number 23.4, The Secret Society. This is written by Jeff Johns and Sterling Gates with art by Manuel Garcia and Rob Hunter.
Fantastic issue.
Ignore the cover, because two of the characters on the cover, that's Copperhead and the Mazo, they're not in this issue. But you do have the Outsider, and you do have Owlman. This right here, if you're picking up Forever Evil, if you're following the current story after Trinity War, you have to get this issue, Secret Society. This explains everything behind Owlman. It explains everything behind the Outsider, who, spoilers, is Alfred in the Earth 3. This right here is the issue you need because it also sets up the plans that they have in mind for Dick Grayson, which you saw in issue number 1. Dick Grayson is captured and his identity has been revealed to the world. And now there's a conflict between even their team, the Earth 3 team. And I think that's going to be somehow the Earth 3 Batman, which is Owlman, which is Thomas Wayne. Bruce Wayne's
really Batman because he's dressed up as him. Sorry, continue.
Is actually going to somehow end up saving the New 52 or end up betraying his own Earth 3 team. I don't know if that's going to be the death of Owlman as a result, but we're going to see Jeff Johns tell this story, and based on this issue, I'm excited.
I do want to point out some really key things in this issue, which if you missed out on some of the earlier Batman series back before Court of Owls actually started, you would probably miss out that they addressed in here. Owlman in Earth 3, is that where they're from, is Thomas Wayne. It is not Batman's father, Thomas Wayne. It is Bruce's brother, Thomas Wayne, who we saw as a villain in this universe. In Owlsman universe, Bruce Wayne is actually, I wouldn't really call him a villain, but he's trying to stop him. So he is his nemesis. Beyond that, we see Dick Grayson doesn't become Robin, he becomes Talon, which I thought was brilliant. Mind was blown, because that is what he was supposed to be in this Earth.
In Court of Owls.
Right. So it was so amazing to see the parallels between everything. Like, if the world had just gone to villains, this is where everything would have gone. But because you have superheroes in place, it goes another way.
Still not revealing if this is your pick of the week?
I'm not saying anything.
The final issue that we are going to talk about, and then we will reveal your pick of the week.
Justice League of America number 7.4, Black Adam. This one's written by Jeff Johns and Sterling Gates with art by Edgar Salazar. I was very impressed with this one. I expected much less out of it.
I thought Black Adam was set up great in the Justice League comic book, and I wanted to see more of him, and you do. And Jeff Johns fleshed out this character. You can tell that Jeff Johns really shines when it comes to handling the villains or the alter ego to the hero, whoever it may be. And he makes them, once again, I mean, I hate to sound like
a fanboy.
Not even a fanboy, just someone, like, I don't want to repeat myself all the time, but I like seeing villains, and this is what I relate to the most, the villains that you sympathize with. And I did feel like Black Adam was, in a way, a hero, and I do like that villain, too, the villains that are doing good things also, but it just turns out that, you know, there's that one quality about them that is different from your typical hero like Green Lantern or Batman, or, in this case, Shazam.
I think that's just what makes the villains more of a person. Does that make sense? Because people who do bad things still do good things. You don't have someone who is constantly running around murdering people. They see a dog on the street and they save it. So I think that he puts that into his villains, makes them more relatable, more likable. We see them as real rather than just comic book villains.
Yeah, and you do see that with Black Adam. He is someone that this group of people that they worship, and when times are hard, they're trying to bring him back, and they're trying to have this hero come back to them. And this is how you see the return of Black Adam, the return of a villain that hopefully plays a big part in Forever Evil, though I see Scarecrow being the main change, or the big, I want to say like the big wig in terms of like the Batman villains. I think he's the one that's really heading up whatever plan he is actually coming up with. But it was nice to see Black Adam back after the issue in Justice League.
Mm-hmm. It was a very good issue.
And I think with that, we'll close out with our overall thoughts on Villains Month. Just some very brief thoughts on the whole thing now that it's over.
Very hit and miss for me.
Same here.
I think there were some great ideas. There were some wonderfully executed books. And then you had a whole lot of character murder, where it was really that's the story that you thought would do the character justice. Beyond that, you sit here and think, some of these people picking up these books have no previous knowledge of these villains, and this is the first piece of them that you're giving. If I had picked up some of those books for the first time, I'd be like, really? This guy? No thanks. Mm-hmm. For example, Joker's daughter.
Another good example, too, is Mr. Freeze and Clayface.
And Harley Quinn.
Oh, that was another bad one. I feel overall with Villains Month, I'm going to say it was a success for DC and retailers, because they all made a lot of money out of this. DC got a ton of orders for the books, even though they screwed up the whole 3D thing. And again, everyone made money. People that don't normally subscribe to these books, I feel like they also ended up fine and happy, because they're not reading these series. A lot of people were just picking it up because it was a 3D cover. Yeah, it was a gimmick. But the whole point of it was to sell books, and that's what you're supposed to do as a company. Marvel, DC, Indie, whatever it is. Whatever thing you need to do to sell books, that's what they were doing. And that's what they did with the 3D covers. I think the people that were hurt the most by this were actually the regular readers, the subscribers, because they were picking up all these issues, seeing how they connected to Forever Evil. Or if you like this particular villain, like, hey, I like Ra's al Ghul, or in my case, Sinestro is amazing, and now I have this villain or this issue where they didn't do anything with him. I feel like those people were hurt the most out of this, but we're also not going to stop reading these issues or this series, or stop picking up Batman and Robin, because these didn't really connect too much to them, to the point. Now we have things going back to normal next month, with Forever Evil #2 is this coming Wednesday. So yeah, the stories weren't the best. Some of them were great. A lot of them were bad, but everyone made money, and we're still reading them. So I feel like it was a success for DC.
Except for us, because we're broke.
Yeah, I'm personally glad it's over, because every week, like 4 extra books that we normally don't get. Okay, that's one less. One less reason to be broke. Villains Month is over.
What was your favorite issue from this whole month?
From this whole Villains Month, I think it's going to be Secret Society. I think that's the one I'm going to go with, because explains so much with the coming Villains Month, and it was a very strong issue. What about you?
There were many honorable mentions. Killer Frost was great.
Yeah.
I think the reason that was so great for me is because I knew nothing of her character. It was a wonderful introduction to her character, and it kind of makes me want to read more about her and her struggle of trying to get Firestorm. I think I'm going to have to go with Ra's al Ghul, though.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought that was a great story. They portrayed him very well and where he's been through the centuries and where he's still going to go. And I think he's going to play a big part in Secret Society, too. Where he's going to be like, you killed the detective. Now I kill you.
Or he may take a back seat like he has every time the world changes, and he just changes with it. Who knows? Yeah, very good pick, Ra's al Ghul. Now for your pick of the week before we close out. My pick of the week was the same that my favorite issue, again, Villains Month, was the Secret Society.
Mm-hmm. I had a favorite one earlier, but then we talked about them, and now I have a different favorite one.
All right.
Can I have two favorite ones?
You can have two favorite ones.
Okay, I can have two picks. I liked Superman Maternal Adventures for the backup story.
Yeah.
And I like Saga.
All right. There we go. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke. Let us know what was your favorite Villains Month issue. Hashtag Reasons I'm Broke and hashtag Villains Month.
Also, rate us on iTunes. Leave a comment. Helps other people find us and gets our name out there. And if you don't have iTunes, you can download us straight to your Android phone on IPP Podcast.
Thank you again for listening, everyone. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelli.
See you next week.